Imagine buying a ticket, packing for grandma's wedding in Michigan, and boom, the airline scanner flashes red because your passport was issued in Chad. You're suddenly stuck on the tarmac like a bad episode of Border Security. And yes, there's a legal way around it. Stick around, I'll show you how. Plus, there's a sneak peek at my new book, Truth and Persuasion in a Digital Revolution, where you're going to learn a lot about the motivations behind things like this. I'm Ron Chapman, a federal criminal defense lawyer, former Marine, and connoisseur of complicated statutes. In the next 7 minutes, I'm going to unpack Donald Trump's 2025 travel ban. I'll discuss what it actually says without any social media myths or hype. I'll discuss who's blocked, who's inconvenienced, and who really gets a hall pass here, and what really happens at the check-in counter during transit and U.S. passport control. We'll talk about the concrete legal moves, waivers, humanitarian parole, congressional help, and if you or your loved ones are caught in the crossfire of this, you're going to want to stick around. Whether this thing can be knocked out in court or not remains to be seen, but I expect the Supreme Court to jump in pretty soon, and I'll give you a preview of that. So let me first give you a snapshot of this ban. First, full entry suspension for nationals of 12 countries. That includes a place that I've been before, Afghanistan, Myanmar, Chad, Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Yemen. I know people from most of these places. It's effective 12:01 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, June 9th, 2025. That's coming up soon. Here are the limits. Immigrants with a B1, B2, FM, J visa for Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela will be issued. And those visas will be issued before June 9th if they're not revoked. Here's the practical chain of events if somebody who is on the banned list tries to travel. Imagine you're at the airline check-in counter, your ticket has been issued, your passport is scanned, and you are on the no board list because your paperwork doesn't check out. Staff will instantly get that red screen for banned nationalities without a valid visa, and your boarding pass will automatically be locked. The carrier faces INA Section 273 fines if they board you, which are pretty heavy and significant. And most people never leave the departure hall when that happens. Transit via third country is not going to help because the same thing is going to happen. So you can't go to Paris to try to get around this. APIS data will still ping U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, and they will be alerted to the potential that you may try to come into the country. And as soon as you try to walk through immigration, you are done for. Customs and Border Patrol, before the plane pushes back, will be aware of everything. Creative layovers, that's not really going to work if you try to stay in another country for a little bit of time. If you slip onto a plane, even if it's bound for the United States, you're still going to get stopped as soon as you try to go through Customs and Border Patrol. On arrival, Customs and Border Patrol cancels visas under INA Section 221I and issues an expedited removal order, which means you can be turned around and removed. They place you on the next outbound flight, often in handcuffs, and your detention while you're waiting for that opportunity to leave is 24 to 48 hours in ICE custody. I would not try to do this if I were watching this from an outside country and trying to get in. You buy 2 plane tickets and a sandwich, nothing else. That's it. 2 plane tickets. If you can't get to your final destination in that amount of time, then you're cooked. At least that's what my son says. Green card holders and dual nationals, they'll be allowed to board, but expect a secondary inspection and a long wait. So if you are a green card holder, just imagine it's going to take you a long time. Officers will need to specifically verify your status. Bring proof of LPR status or a non-banned passport if you have a second passport issued from a non-banned country. Travel, but make sure you pack some patience with you. Student workers and people who are already in the U.S. can stay and should not leave. Re-entry will be blocked off if you fall into a banned category. Try to work out your immigration issues from inside the United States. You may want to cancel that summer break, reschedule that destination wedding. For global entry and TSA pre-check trusted travelers, they will be auto-revoked if you are on the banned list, which means that you will have to reapply. Affected nationals will have to regain that status. Don't bank on being in the pre-check line. Of course, that's probably the least of your worries. Now, that is a terrifying nightmare for me. What can you do? Here's 7 concrete steps that you can take if you're on the banned list. First, stop the travel plans if inside the United States. Stay put until the dust settles, until the Supreme Court does something about it. Then document everything. Save screenshots of your ticket purchases, your I-94s, your immigration stamps. You'll need them for waiver packages later on. Seek a Section 212F waiver. So go to the consulate, or a DOJ national interest waiver is possible. And you must show undue hardship, no security threat, and a benefit to the United States. That's the new factor that has been implicated. The historical approval rate for this is very low, about 2% for a 212F waiver. I know I'm getting into some complicated territory here, but at least you've got the buzzwords to do some research, and then check out my Substack article. It'll have a little bit more on that as well. Humanitarian parole is a possibility for some, for medical emergencies or to testify in court, but that requires a Form I-131 and a fee, or a fee waiver. It's going to be difficult to get because the line just got incredibly long for that. Expedited trapped visa cases. You got to email the consulate with proof of hardship, attach Form DS-160 confirmation, and supporting evidence. For congressional inquiry issues, constituent services can go to the State Department and DHS, and sometimes they will start to move the file a little quicker. Litigation, mandamus. If the government drags its heels beyond a reasonable processing time, ask your immigration lawyer or reach out to me, and they can possibly get some expedited status. Remember, due process applies to everybody, and that's very important. So let's look at the constitutional implications. I wanted to talk about the practical impacts of this, but let's look at the constitutional implications. The Supreme Court's 2018 decision in Trump versus Hawaii upheld a similar ban, stressing that the president's broad discretion under 8 USC section 1182F and deferring to national security findings. Now, Trump tried to find a way around this with national security findings. You'll notice that just recently, 2 Chinese nationals were stopped in the United States, in Detroit specifically, just a few miles away from where I'm sitting right now, with suspected fungus that was involved in, or potentially going to be involved in, some sort of Chinese agriculture attack. We saw that the family members of the Colorado terrorist attacker were also detained, causing a lot of issues there. We have seen an increased number of stories related to national security threats, which is exactly why this ban is going into place, according to the Trump administration. I say it's a bit of pretext, some Gulf of Tonkin issues going on right now. Now, any new challenges to this travel ban must show that there's a statutory conflict. The proclamation that Trump issued carefully repeats the visas issued before these effective dates are safe, so I don't expect that's going to happen. But there should be then clear evidence of impermissible religious or racial animus beyond the text. The court didn't address that last time, but I expect that they probably will this time, because opponents of this ban are already starting to argue that this unnecessarily blocks certain races from entering the country. The Trump administration will say, no, this is just a national security issue, and these are our biggest national security threats, and that sets the stage for the battle. Now, is it going to be overturned? Possibly. I hope it is, but it's going to be an uphill battle. Expect a whole bunch of emergency temporary restraining orders in the Ninth Circuit and the DC circuits, but prepare for this to be lost in limbo. It seemed like the Trump administration peppered a lot of the courts with early litigation related to immigration to block them up, so that when they made this big move, there were going to be a lot of cases in the pipeline already, and it's not going to be easy for the Supreme Court to get at this case pretty quickly. Now, practical question. Can my fiance from Sierra Leone still get a K-1? K-1 counts as an immigration type visa. That's going to currently be suspended. You've got to explore humanitarian parole or marry abroad and file spousal once the ban lifts. That's the best thing to do. Does the ban apply to refugees? No. Asylum seekers already paroled in or refugees already admitted are exempt from this. Some saving grace there. What about ESTA for dual nationals? If you travel to the non-banned passport and have never used the banned nationality for U.S. travel, ESTA should work, but Customs and Border Patrol can still refer you to a secondary screening or inspection. How long will the waivers take? Well, historically, about 6 to 12 months. Emergency medical waivers are processed in about 2 weeks, but you have to have an emergency situation. Is third country quarantine, 14 days in Mexico or something like that, a workaround? Sounds like fun. No. The proclamation is based on nationality, not location. Already covered that a bit, but want to make sure we slam that home. Bottom line, If you're from an affected country, plan twice, talk to an immigration lawyer, travel once. You don't want to get detained at a border trying to enter. That is going to cause removal and potentially a conviction, which is not something that we want, but there will be an expedited removal order. Talk to your lawyer first, talk to an immigration lawyer. If you need templates for waivers, checklists, and all of that, I'm hoping to publish some later on my Substack account. So take a look at the links to find that information, and feel free to subscribe to this YouTube channel or subscribe to my Substack to get updated information. Listen, if you like this video and you like some of the information, I talk about a whole range of travel bans and white collar issues and how you can protect yourself and know the law a little bit better. Stay tuned to my channel, and thanks for watching this one. I hope you found something valuable, and if you did, please hit that like button. Let me know in the comments what you like and what you don't like. And if, hey, you see something that you disagree with on here in terms of the information I'm providing, would love you to shout that out and let me know, although it's pretty well vetted. Thanks a lot for watching. I'm Ron Chapman.